Hello everyone, I am Amol Shrivastav and this year in Civil Services examination I have secured rank 83. So I am here to talk to you about my strategy that helped me in clearing this exam. I think most of the toppers have spoken about it, so I won't be dealing with what books to read, what notes to follow. My focus would be on the importance of smart work, because this is very important in this exam, and I think all the people who are selected, they do smart work, but it's not limited to me, but I'll be focusing so that it can help you in somehow. So first of all, I'll like to talk about why smart work is important. So the first thing is that the syllabus is very vast. So to find out the relevant content, we need to be very proactive and smart, so that we do not waste our time in reading irrelevant stuff. Secondly, I think there are multiple sources which many aspirants are facing problems how to manage them. So what I did was, through smart work, I could easily eliminate the resources which I didn't want to follow or they were not useful for the exam. And coming to the last point, it's like we'll be able to get the maximum output from the minimum effort that we put in. That is the main aim of smart work. Also, we need to prioritize few subjects over others. So if we see the trend analysis from last 3-4 years, some subjects are very important, some topics are very important, some are not very important. So to prioritize those topics, we need to be smart. So the first and the most important thing which I followed before even starting this preparation was to change my mindset, because most of us here are graduated recently and we are still in the college level mode or the school level mode where we expect spoon feeding from our teachers, or whatever we study comes directly in the exam. But this is not the case. This is UPSC and we have to change our mindset. So there we need to move beyond from what we study. Everyone reads the book, reads the same book, same notes, but we have to follow something different, and we need to move beyond what we study. Now the next thing I made sure that I did was that I understood the demand of the exam. This exam wants to select good candidates for public service and administration. They don't want PhD scholars. So our motive of studying should be to clear this exam and become a good officer, rather than to become a PhD scholar in any of the subjects. So we should not do specialized study in any of the topics. So here I'd like to tell a mantra that I followed was that we need to know something about everything and everything about some things. Okay. And third thing in this smart work would be that please analyze the UPSC papers by yourself and see, because I did not follow any toppers religiously, any website religiously, that whatever they are trying to say I am just noting them blindly. But I analyzed the UPSC papers myself, that what type of questions they are asking. Is it totally based on knowledge, or it requires some type of common sense from me? If it is common sense, then how to develop that common sense? That was my goal. So if we are able to do these things, that we are able to change our mindset and directly enter into the UPSC exam mindset, then we are able to understand the demand of the exam and we are able to analyze the papers, both prelims and mains. I think we'll be able to maximize our score. So I followed a strategy where I had fixed my timeline. From when I started my preparation to the time I was giving my first prelims attempt. So there was a timeline where I divided each and every subject into the number of days I need to give them. So based on a smart study, we'll be able to minimize the number of days that are required to finish the subject. For example, if a subject I have taken 20 days in my starting of the preparation, I should prepare my notes and my study should be so exhaustive that when I start my revision, I am able to complete that subject in just 1 week. And when my exam is approaching, I am able to cover that subject in just 3 days. Okay, and when this is the last week, just before the exam, I am able to finish that full subject in just 1 day. Or just a day before exam, I'm able to finish that full subject in just 2 hours. So that strategy we need to follow. And this is only possible with smart work. So as I mentioned before, I won't be dealing with what books to follow and what notes to follow, but for every stage of exam, I'll be talking about how can we utilize our time better and make the best out of what we study, and keeping our sources and the inputs limited. So I'll start with polity. So everyone reads Lakshmikant. It's a very famous book. So instead of reading Lakshmikant in a unilateral manner, like from first chapter to the last chapter, smart way would be to read the related topics which are asked in the exam. For example, when you are reading president topic, then simultaneously cover the governor topic. When you're reading about the High Court, simultaneously cover Supreme Court. When you're reading Finance Commission, cover Law Commission. When you are reading Rajya Sabha, cover Lok Sabha. So this way you will be able to analyze those topics in a very comprehensive and an analytical manner. And whatever the question could be, you could be able to answer it in a very easy way. Second, for modern history, we follow Spectrum and Bipin Chandra and whatnot. So I would say that whenever you are following these different books, so there should be one note, or that could be your class note, or that could be your self-prepared note, where you can compile everything. Like if you are reading something from Spectrum, if you find something additional, note down in your own notes. When you read Bipin Chandra, if you find something extra, that additional points you can note down in the same note. So at the end, you are actually eliminating Spectrum and Bipin Chandra for the last minute revision. Your notes are so comprehensive that you need not go beyond your notes, and you do not follow any bulky book. Now again, for geography, NCERTs are a must. So a smart way to approach NCERT is that you must be you must have been able to find out that the syllabus of class 7th, syllabus of class 9th and 11th is same. It's based on the same format, and similarly the syllabus for class 6th, 8th and 10th is same. So whenever you are reading class 6th book and then you move on to class 8th book, whatever extra points you found in class 6th, note down in your 8th class book. When you are reading the class 10th book, then whatever extra points you found in your class 8th and 6th book, note down in your class 10th book. So at the end, you are just you have just your class 10th NCERT that you need to revise. So this will save a lot of time. Now one thing which I followed, which actually helped me in my prelims exam and also in my mains exam, was that I used a lot of maps. Not only for geography or environment, but I used maps for almost every subject. Like art and culture also, which state has which dance form, which festivals are there in which state, which animals are found in which state. So if you are able to plot them on the map, so that visual grasp that you get, you will be able to revise that all the animals, all the festivals in just 5 minutes. So that is a very smart way of approaching. And even just before the exam, when I revised those maps, I was able to answer even the analytical questions. For example, that UPSC asked that arrange these festivals from north to south, arrange the national parks from north to south. When I have studied from the maps, it is imprinted in my mind that which place will be where, and it is easy to solve the map based questions. Now coming to the mains, I think that the role of books is very limited in mains examination, because if you see the last year's papers, no question can be directly answered from the book. So my suggestion, or what I followed, would be that I made a list of all the important topics that could be asked. Here again that smart work comes, that you have to anticipate questions, seeing what all is going around in the news. So if something is very important in the news, there is a very high probability that it will be asked in the exam. So make a list of all those topics and prepare concise notes on them. So the notes should not be more than 2 pages, because again we'll have to revise all the notes in just one day or a few hours. So we cannot have we cannot have bulky notes with us. So for example, this year Lingayat issue was in news. So there is a high probability that questions on the philosophy of Basaveshwar, that can be asked. Bhakti movement is related to this, so that can also be asked. This year there was a there was a case where should Hindi be made the language in United Nations. So they might not ask you directly about Hindi in the United Nations, but they might ask in art and culture what the role of Hindi had been in national integration, or should Hindi be made a national language or not. So there you have to correlate things and analyze them in a very comprehensive manner, that what questions could be asked. So once I had made that complete list, I prepared short notes on that any question if related to this comes, I'll be able to answer a question in a decent manner. Now, in modern history, what I followed was that whenever we are reading the books, we study in a very unilateral manner in a story format, that what happened in 1857, what happened in 1909, and so on. That is very important for prelims exam, but when we see mains, the questions in mains are very analytical. So when you have completed your basic study, then what I did was, I made short notes on the type of questions that are asked in UPSC. For example, the difference between ideology of Gandhiji and Nehruji, difference between Gandhiji and Bose's philosophy, and that question was asked in 2016. Difference between Gandhi and Ambedkar, role of press, how the civil services reformed, how the civil services evolved over the years, role of women, role of tribal movement. So if you have direct notes on this, I think that certainly helps in answering one or two questions that are asked from modern history. Now coming to world history, if we see that from the past few years, the weightage of world history is being reduced. So here what I did was, I did a basic study of the different topics in world history, and I made special notes on few topics. For example, Cuban Missile Crisis, Vietnam Crisis, and all these things. And instead of studying big bulky books on these topics, I followed YouTube videos, because at the end we have to write just a 200-word answer. And from a YouTube video, if we are able to find out what was the background of the issue, what were the causes and what were the consequences through just a 15-minute video, I think that serves our purpose. So here we have minimized our effort and we have maximized our output. Now coming to GS2, again we'll have to make a list of all the topics and that could be asked. Here what I followed was that while I was preparing my notes, there on right hand side I had made a column regarding the facts associated with that topic. The constitutional articles, the Supreme Court and High Court verdicts, if there was some committee or convention signed regarding that topic, I had made a note of it, so that whenever in the answer, if the question comes, I'll just quote that part in that answer. Now when we are making those notes, what I followed was that whatever might be the topic, I followed a strict pattern that the notes will be in the format of the background about the issue, the positives associated with that issue, the negatives of that issue. The negatives would include the challenges, the obstacles, the problems and the criticism, and the possible solutions. So when we have this kind of notes with us, then whatever be the question, we'll be able to answer that question by tweaking our notes. If in the question challenges are asked, so from your notes you can give more weightage to the challenges part and give less weightage to the advantage part. If advantages is asked, give more weightage to the advantage part, and challenges part you can reduce. So that way we can change our notes based on the demand of the question. Now for international relations, we need to know the basic international relations, who's the friendly nation, who's the enemy nation, or which nations we need to be cautious about. So if we have a general understanding about the international issues, I think the answer writing will be very easy, because we know where we can take the answer and where we should not take the answer. However, what I deliberately made a difference was that I took note of all the important treaties that were signed, important conventions, or if there was an important event, for example Paris Deal or International Solar Alliance, I made a note of that wherever I could quote these important events and treaties, that will certainly give an edge in the answer writing. Now when we are writing about IR, I made sure that the IR questions, when I am answering, they are not just limited to IR, because a comprehensive approach is required in UPSC. That I understood from the demand of the exam, which I talked about in the first part. So I tried to make my answers very comprehensive. Even though it was an IR question, I made sure that I put examples related to energy security, the economic angle towards it related to the trade and commerce, then the security angle towards it, and the cultural aspect. Like track 2 and track 3 diplomacy is very prominent now. So if I've included all these aspects, then that makes an IR answer very comprehensive. Now coming to GS3, again we have to make a list of all the topics and then follow the same strategy. In GS3 economics also, what I followed was that even though it is an economy related answer, but I made sure that all the aspects are covered. For example, if a question on GST was asked, then I started it with the 101st Amendment Bill or the constitutional aspects of GST. Also, if there is a question on, for example, energy security, then you have to. Then I made sure that I include aspects of environment, Paris deal, and our commitments in the INDCs. So that I think made the answer more comprehensive and could be analyzed in many different perspectives. Now coming to GS4, it's the most interesting subject in this UPSC mains examination, where I think when I interacted with my fellow aspirants, so I think that they are too much focused on how to study ethics and how to reproduce whatever we have studied. So what I followed here was that I didn't rely too much on books, because the books have a very theoretical knowledge, and what I understood from the demand of the exam was that in ethics they require people who can think, people who are ethical, who are honest, whose integrity cannot be questioned. So we have to inculcate all those things in ourselves. So if we are able to make that paper very practical and very close to us, I think that will certainly be a very unique thing, which every mind is different, every heart is different. So I feel that if we are able to bring that element of originality in our answers in ethics, so that will certainly impress the examiner. So what I did was that I was very observant. I always kept my eyes and ears open whatever is going on in my society. And whenever such questions came, I used to quote examples from my daily life or examples from my childhood where it showed that yes, I have inculcated these things from my childhood itself. Also, when we are studying the basic concepts, the theoretical concepts, for example, we study about thinkers like Aristotle, Plato, Kant, then what their essence is, we need to understand that. Instead of mugging them up or whatever they have said, we should understand them and we should try to solve our case studies that are in the second part of the paper through those concepts. For example, if a case study is asked on duty, then we should quote the Nishkam Karma. If something needs to be followed irrespective of what the circumstances are, then we need to focus upon what Kant told about categorical imperative. So this makes your answer very unique in the way that the examiner knows that this person has related whatever he has studied in theory to the practical aspects. So there the marking will certainly, you will get an added advantage. Now coming to the essay part, again in essay, there's a notion that essay is a test of your knowledge and you have to quote each and everything that you know and answer it in a very broad manner. That is a right thing, but more than a test of knowledge, essay is a test of personality, I feel, that because that is the only thing available to the examiner to judge you, how you think, what your thought process is, and how far you can think not from the topic but beyond the topic. So it's more of a test of your personality. Also, it shows that your problem solving skills, because in essay there is a statement that is given that has an inherent problem in the society or in our political system or in our environment and economy, which we need to understand from the topic itself and give our approach towards solving that problem, which is also required from an officer. So as far as content is considered, I was totally dependent on my GS content. GS 1, 2 and 3 actually helps in helping develop our content for the essay, and no specialized study, I don't think no specialized study is required for essay. Also, I have seen people that they start mugging up essays which are given by different websites and institutes, that if such and such topics come, then I will write this and thing. I didn't follow this. I maintained an element of the originality in my essay. This year I wrote the essay on education, how a classroom shapes the destiny of the nation. So I started that essay with my classroom, how it could help in shaping the destiny, and how different classrooms in the world, how can they be used to shape the destiny of the world. So I think that element of originality is needed. Instead of just quoting the same events and reports, there should be something unique about the essay which impresses the examiner, because 1200 words we need to write, and the examiner should remain attached to the essay for the full to 1200 words. So but one thing that I found difficult was the structuring part of the essay. So even though I didn't feel like writing an essay, I made sure that whatever topic I got, I structured that essay, that what will be the introduction, what all aspects I will focus. So one thing I followed while structuring the essay is that when we have studied GS1, GS2 and GS3 and GS4. So the structure of the essay I followed from this same pattern. So I started with the ancient and the historical aspect. I added the cultural aspect in my essay in the beginning, then the social aspect in the beginning, and if it is related to geographical or environment aspect, then I included that also in my introduction part. So the GS1 is over. Then I moved on to the polity aspect. What are the political dimensions that could be analyzed in this topic? The governance aspect, and then if there is any international aspect that can be included in that essay. So now GS1 and GS2 is over. Then I moved on to the economic dimension of the essay. Then how if it is related to any environment aspect, if it is related to any security aspect. So that makes and science and technology is very important. This year government is focusing a lot. So science and technology also comes in GS3. So one full paragraph on the technological aspect. For example, in education, how the internet can be used to impart education, and what all technological developments are taking place in education. So that I included, and then I included the ethical aspect of education, because value-based education is a very important theme going on. We see so many white-collar crimes. So if ethics I have included in the education part, so from GS1 to GS4 I have completed all the aspects, and certainly 1200 words is very easy to frame when we are doing from GS1 to GS4. And at the end, one page or 2-3 paragraphs, I completely focused on the solutions, the problems that we are facing in education and what will be the solutions. And at the end, a very hopeful and a very optimistic conclusion that shows the examiner that this personality is very optimistic, and he'll be a good officer in his later part of his life, so that he believes that things will improve at the end. So there I focus on that. So this way I've minimized my resources and I have maximized my outputs, which has helped me in getting 83rd rank this year. So if something is useful in whatever I said, even if one thing is useful, I think you should take it, and do not follow any topper blindly. Okay, so it is your own strategy. When I said maintain originality, then it is your own originality and not my originality. So make sure that you are trusting yourself, you are trusting your preparation, because whatever effort you have taken from the past 1 year or 2 years, that will help you, and not just one person saying anything. So I wish you all the luck. Thank you.